Right now, in the Red Sea, there is a ship still holding the cargo it never delivered. Motorcycles still crated. Trucks still lined up in rows. Rifles still stacked in their boxes. 2 entire steam locomotives, blown clean off the deck and resting on the seabed beside her. She is also one of the most visited shipwrecks on the planet. Hundreds of thousands of divers descend on her every single year. And in over 80 years, nobody has taken any of it. Most people who dive the Thistlegorm know she's a wreck full of World War II cargo. What I wanted to know is why none of it has ever left. The answer involves a manifest that lied, a war grave that nobody talks about, and a piece of pure bad luck that sank her in under a minute. History. The Thistlegorm was a British cargo steamer, built in Sunderland and completed in the summer of 1940. Nothing about her was glamorous. She was a workhorse, 415 feet long, built to haul supplies, not to fight. By June 1941, Britain's 8th Army was fighting Rommel across the Western Desert, and that army needed everything. Trucks, motorcycles, ammunition, spare parts, boots. The Thistlegorm was loaded in Glasgow and sent south, around the Cape of Good Hope, because the Mediterranean was too dangerous to risk. Her official manifest listed her cargo as motor parts. That was not even close to true. Below deck, she was carrying Bedford and Morris trucks, BSA and Norton motorcycles, Bren gun carriers, crates of rifles, radio equipment, and thousands of pairs of Wellington boots. On her open deck sat 2 full steam locomotives, destined for the Egyptian railway. She was, in every practical sense, an entire army's resupply crammed into one hull. The battle. The Thistlegorm never made it to Alexandria. A collision elsewhere in the Suez Canal had blocked the route, so her convoy was ordered to wait at a designated safe anchorage in the Red Sea. She sat there for weeks. On the night of October 5, 1941, 2 German bombers went looking for a much bigger target, a troop ship believed to be carrying thousands of soldiers. They searched for hours and found nothing. On their way back, running low on fuel, one crew spotted the anchorage below. They picked the largest ship they could see. That ship was the Thistlegorm. 2 bombs fell. One struck hold 4 directly into the ammunition stored inside. The explosion was catastrophic. It was powerful enough to hurl both steam locomotives off the deck and into the water on either side of the hull. Witnesses on a nearby ship said she went down in under a minute. 9 men died in the blast. The rest of the crew were pulled from the water by a nearby escort ship. The Thistlegorm sank, still carrying almost everything she had loaded in Glasgow. Present-day wreck status. For nearly 10 years, nobody knew exactly where she was. Then, in the early 1950s, an expedition led by Jacques Cousteau located the wreck and filmed inside her holds. For decades after that, she stayed a quiet, half-forgotten sight, known mostly to a handful of divers. That changed in the 1990s, when the Red Sea diving industry exploded around Sharm el-Sheikh. The Thistlegorm went from a local secret to one of the most famous wreck dives on Earth. And what divers found inside was almost exactly what went down in 1941. The motorcycles are still stacked in rows, some still in their factory crating. The trucks still sit where they were loaded, tires long gone but frames intact. Rifles remain boxed in the holds. Boots are still bundled in their original packing. The 2 locomotives rest on the seabed exactly where the blast threw them, one on each side of the hull. This is not a wreck that has been picked apart over the decades. It is a supply run, frozen mid-delivery, sitting almost untouched at the bottom of the Red Sea. Why has nobody taken any of it? So here is the part that genuinely surprised me. This isn't some remote, inaccessible wreck protected by depth or radiation. She sits in shallow water, easily reachable by recreational divers, visited constantly. By any normal logic, a site with that much foot traffic should have been stripped bare decades ago. It hasn't, and there are a few overlapping reasons why. First, the Thistlegorm is a war grave. 9 men died in that explosion, and their deaths are treated with the same legal and ethical weight as any military war grave. Removing artifacts from the site is considered disturbing a burial ground, not just looting a shipwreck. Second, Egyptian maritime heritage law protects the wreck directly. It sits within a marine-protected area near Ras Mohammed, and removing anything from a historic wreck site is illegal. Dive operators brief every single visitor on this before they go down. Look, but do not touch, and absolutely do not take. Third, there's a self-policing culture around the wreck itself. The diving community that visits the Thistlegorm treats her almost as shared property. Operators who have built careers around bringing people to see her have a direct incentive to keep her intact. A stripped wreck stops being worth visiting. That doesn't mean nothing has changed. Decades of currents, corrosion, and the sheer number of divers moving through her holds have taken a slow toll. Some sections have deteriorated, but the core of it, the crates, the vehicles, the sense of walking through a paused delivery, has survived remarkably intact. Conclusion. So that is where the Thistlegorm sits today. Shallow enough to visit, famous enough that almost every diver in the world knows her name, and still carrying nearly everything she was sent to deliver in 1941. A ship built to resupply an army that never received its shipment. Instead, for the last 80 years, she has been quietly resupplying something else: curiosity, memory, and respect for the 9 men who never got to finish the voyage. If you enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments, and I will keep bringing you more wrecks like her.